All right, guys. Thank you so much for waiting. I appreciate it. We got a great show for you tonight. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Whoops. Oh, my thing is on mute. Hold on. Oh, boy. Here we go.
I can hear you.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. All right. We have a great show for you tonight. I'm so excited for you guys to meet Fog City Midge. She is probably, you'll be hard pressed to find a person who loves 45 more than her. So I'm excited for her to be on the channel. We're going to talk some politics. She's out in California. So Fog City Midge, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is great. So for those of you guys that don't know, I actually met Fog City Midge back in October. It's actually Halloween. There was a Trump rally down here in, I think it was it Fort Myers, Sarasota? I can't remember.
Fort Myers.
Oh, it was Fort Myers. Okay. So I was doing a live stream down there for the Trump rally. And then she came up and we met. And then I had no idea that she was basically an Instagram star, right? I mean, I've seen your pictures. You got Jesse Lee Peterson, Dave Rubin, Candace Owens, Dinesh D'Souza. You're pretty much an Instagram star, but it was great to meet you at that Trump rally. But go ahead and give us like a little bit of background as far as like where you're from, your political background, that kind of stuff.
You were so sweet, and you're totally like making me blush over here. I'm glad that it's like very bright, so you can't see that I'm blushing. But yeah, when we met, it was just sort of random. I was like, oh, this guy's out here doing a live stream. That's fantastic. Nice to meet you. And then we connected from there. But yeah, I've been an Instagram influencer, I guess, I started the account about a year ago. I really started just because I wanted to make videos. I didn't really know if I wanted to do YouTube or Instagram. And I realized I was like, there just need to be more people on Instagram posting content, speaking out, and speaking up. And especially because I'm from California, you don't get a lot of people out here that sort of think differently. So I was like, you know what, I'm happy to share my truth and to, put some facts out there that maybe people aren't aware of. So that's sort of what I've been doing. And yeah, I've been very blessed to get to meet some amazing people because of that.
And have you always been a conservative, or were you a liberal and then you voted for
Yeah,
Trump?
I kind of have an interesting story. So I grew up in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, California, and I definitely was a liberal, I would say, when I was younger. I was vegan and sort of like a PETA activist when I was in middle school. I was always kind of had an activist spirit in my heart, and yeah, I would be like on the weekends. For me, it was really fun to feel like I was cool and handing out PETA, pamphlets and flyers. And I kind of red pilled myself when I was in high school because I realized I was like, a lot of these things that I'm sitting here and that I'm reading, I don't really agree with. I could kind of see that they weren't all necessarily true. When I was younger, we had like a small ranch and I raised animals and I was a part of 4-H. So I knew that, the information that they're giving me about the treatment of animals is not necessarily true. So I started to look into that, and then I started to question everything and then look into everything for myself. I guess I've always also been sort of a contrarian. So if someone tells me to believe something or to think a certain way, I'm not necessarily going to accept that. I'm going to look into things for myself. And that continued through high school. And so by the end of high school, I would say I was definitely, right-leaning or certainly had more conservative viewpoints. And, I was still, though, very open-minded about a lot of subjects. I guess I was more libertarian when I was in my 20s and living in Hollywood. But this was during the Obama years, and I just really learned that I had to keep my mouth shut. I could not speak politics at all, or I was going to be blacklisted. I was not really able to be myself. And that was really unfortunate. And it wasn't until I moved to San Francisco 3 years ago that I went nuts. I mean, this city epitomizes everything that is wrong with liberal policies and everything that is wrong with the Democrat leadership in California and how it has ruined an amazing city and state that I'm from. And you can break down virtually any policy going back 40 years of Democrat leadership and how it's led our state to ruin. And so that's really when I got motivated to start speaking up. And to be completely honest, I did not think that Donald Trump was going to win. I was married at the time, and everyone I knew was against me. Everyone told me I was crazy. Everyone told me that Trump was never going to win. My own husband told me, my husband at the time told me that I was an idiot, and anyone that voted for Donald Trump was an idiot. And it was a very sad and dark time for me. And the night of the election, I didn't even have anyone to watch with. My husband banned Fox News in the house. So I was sitting there on my phone just refreshing to see sort of what the numbers were that were coming in. And I was so shocked to see Donald Trump's numbers doing so well. And I just felt like this is legit a miracle. This is unbelievable that this is even happening. And from there, I just sort of realized like I feel so alone, and I need to kind of reach out and make other friends and talk to people and not feel like a crazy person and not get told that I'm dumb or that I'm wrong or that, you know, all Trump supporters are racist or stupid, because I was like, I don't think I'm stupid. You know, I've lived in New York City and Paris and San Francisco, and I feel like, and Los Angeles, and I feel like I'm very well traveled and cultured, and I'm open to the world, and I'm an open-minded person. And I don't feel like, I felt like all these things that they were saying about Trump and they were saying about Trump supporters weren't true. And I knew that they weren't true about myself. So then I really got deep because I didn't think he was going to win. I wasn't even that invested in the election, but I became really, really interested after that. And obviously I started using my skills and gifts as an actress and as a filmmaker to start creating and producing content to sort of expose, you know, the leftist hypocrisy and, you know, going on and all the lies. So I guess that's sort of a long-winded story about who I am and kind of how I got involved in, you know, creating conservative content.
No, that was really great. You know, it's crazy that like thinking for yourself and deciding what kind of information you're going to take in, that's like a skill, right? It's like a special skill or a talent to think for yourself. So many people are just spoon-fed stories, spoon-fed their reality. And so I think by you being a free thinker, which from what I've discovered, pretty much everyone who's a Trump supporter has come to that conclusion on their own. They weren't subverted by any kind of propaganda. It was literally just, we like Trump. We don't like the establishment. This is what it is. And I think that served you well, right? Because especially being in Hollywood where everybody's liberal, like if you're in the film and acting industry, it's not, you can't be a conservative. If you are, it's like detrimental to your career. And
oh yeah,
it's great that you've reached out because my story is pretty similar. You know, like I spent a lot of time living in Minneapolis where it's super liberal, and that's the most liberal place I ever lived. And when Trump won, I just saw the entire meltdown on the left, and it just was so weird to me that I'm like, I don't want any parts of this. I don't even know what it was. I didn't even know what to call it, the left at the time. And so like to see all of that and then no, I'm not going to be a part of it, even though they tried to shame me for not agreeing with the whole narrative. Like when I came, I'm like, you know, Trump's not that bad. And then it became the point where I'm like, I'm just going to be outwardly about it. I don't care what people have to say. I don't care what people think. I'm going to support this president unapologetically simply because I can. Like on principle alone, I would support Trump. Everything else is obviously good too. You know, the policies, and he's anti-establishment, America first. But I think it serves all of us in the YouTube community, all of us online, social media influencers. It serves us well because we're able to stay connected. I feel like with liberals and the left, they'll connect it like these random protests and stuff, like they organize, whereas we're more grassroots. We're on the internet. We're connected through websites and emails and Twitter and all of that. So I think it's really been helpful. And it's great that you're on that same page too, because we have so much work to do. I know it seems like, oh, Trump's got it in the bag. Look at these clowns over here. I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves here, because that's what Hillary and her supporters did in 2016. They were cocky. They thought they had it in the bag. Trump, on paper, he should have it in the bag. I mean, really, look at these candidates. This is literally a clown show. There's like 9 candidates, 20 candidates. They're out on stage just trying to differentiate one from another, who can out socialism the other. But we know how the left is. They fight dirty. So we're going to be fighting for 2020. They're going to pull out all the stops, whether you're talking about ballot harvesting. Think about all these radical positions they've taken, like Bernie Sanders wanting the Boston bomber to vote. Nancy Pelosi wants 16-year-olds to vote. Of course, they want illegals to vote. They're going to ballot harvest. They're going to do whatever they can to win. So that's why I don't want people to just be like, oh, Trump's got it. We got to show out in full force. But that brings me to another point, because you've been very active in, I listened to your interview with Slightly Sophisticated, and you were down in Florida, right? Which is when we met, and you were campaigning for Ron DeSantis. And I remember you talking about how conservatives are struggling with the social media game. Like, Republican campaigns aren't very good. There's a lot of work to do. And I feel like with us being part of the younger generation, we can help that. So like, whatever I can do for Trump in 2020, now that I'm on board and all of that, I think it'll go a long way.
Yeah, you just said so many things that I was like, oh man, I got stuff to say about all of that, and I hope I can come back to and touch on and remember that. Yeah, I mean, first thing, 2020 is not guaranteed by any means, and the left is playing dirtier than I have ever seen them play. Things are out of control right now, so we cannot take anything for granted. When people say, oh, it's going to be a landslide victory, I mean, I hope so, but you just don't know. And you're absolutely right. They're playing so dirty. They're doing ballot harvesting. They're trying to get illegals to vote. They're going out and pushing to end the Electoral College. They can't win on policy right now because their policy is so terrible. And you can't deny that Donald Trump is winning in so many ways. So they're going to try to win in any way that they can, and which is basically, we can't win by the rules that we've created and that have been established. So let's reinvent the rules. Let's recreate these rules, right? So that's basically what we're looking at right now for 2020. And yeah, basically, even just today, a friend sent me an article about ballot harvesting. And if ballot harvesting is allowed to continue in California, we will never elect another Republican. And that is so scary. And that is something that has to stop. As well as I believe we need to put voter ID in place. I think that should be on, way up there on Trump's priority list of what we need to get done, is basically to try to get states on board with voter ID, because since voter ID was passed in Texas, we saw a massive amount of voter fraud go down and illegal voting, stop happening. So we need to get on board and really, push our representatives towards seeing that voter ID is super important. And then the other thing that you talked about that I find to be just so important, and I'm going to be actually speaking at a few events soon coming up about this, but yeah, I worked on the DeSantis campaign. Well, I can't really say that I worked. I volunteered a little bit, right? And I was very interested, and I followed the campaign very closely. I tried to do a lot more. We tried reaching out to the campaign numerous times, and they were so disorganized. It was very unfortunate. And the thing is what's really funny is when I was watching that campaign very closely, and from what I saw, even just me as a conservative, I'm looking at Ron DeSantis and I'm saying, okay, look, policy-wise, this guy is great. He's obviously the right candidate for Florida. Andrew Gillum is not a good guy. It's definitely not a great candidate for Florida. Maybe in socialist California, he would be okay. But I mean, he was talking about raising the corporate tax rate to 40%. You're going to run businesses out of Florida. I mean, the guy, very corrupt politician from Tallahassee. He was not the right person to be the governor of Florida. And yet he almost won. I mean, it was a very, very close race by the end there. And it shouldn't have been close at all, to be completely honest. And I was looking at the footage that I was seeing that was coming out from both sides. And of course, the media is always going to paint their preferred candidate, their leftist candidates in the light that they want. And so, of course, when you would see, the highlights from a debate, you're looking at it and you're just seeing the worst of Ron DeSantis and the best of Andrew Gillum. So of course, Ron DeSantis didn't come across particularly well. And it wasn't until I saw him speak live on 2 different occasions, both at the Trump rally where we met in Fort Myers. And I also saw him speak at a small rally in Rockledge, Florida. And both times I was so impressed with him. I thought, wow, this guy's really got what it takes. But when I saw those few clips on TV, I thought, wow, this guy's flustered. He doesn't come across very well. He doesn't come across like a strong leader. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. He was absolutely wonderful and a great candidate and wonderful. And so far, he's been an amazing, governor for Florida and actually keeping promises and getting amazing things done. So I have no regrets there. But what I really saw, where I saw the biggest epic just sort of failure in the campaign, if I can say that, is when I was looking at the social media of Ron DeSantis compared to the social media of Andrew Gillum. I mean, it was night and day. Andrew Gillum was killing it, right? He had hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers. He had, I believe, 300,000 followers on his Instagram. I think Ron DeSantis had like 10,000 or something, or maybe 20,000. It was so pathetic. But when I would see Ron DeSantis, when I saw him at that small rally in Rockledge, he had 5 guys with cameras following him around. I mean, and these were people on his staff as well as the news and other things. And I'm thinking, why aren't those clips of all those amazing little segments of all those things he just said, why isn't somebody cutting that up and putting that out immediately after so that people can see what he really thinks, how he really comes across? So they're not just seeing some tiny sample of something that he said or like him, getting owned by Andrew Gillum because he didn't, So social media has not been used by conservatives in the way that it needs to be to sort of set the record straight, So it's like, let's say somebody says something to you in a debate and you didn't get to, refute that and they just ran on to the next thing. And then the next thing, the media says, oh, well, this person said this about this person. Well, now all of a sudden you have social media. You can go set the record straight. You can say, hey, I didn't get to respond to that, but here's what I really think. Or you could just say, like, here's clips of like my policies and where I would excel or where I would be a great leader. And I never saw those things coming out. And the only person, before up to the midterms that I actually saw doing this well was Trump. Trump won on social media, and he's the only person that I've seen do this really well and really effectively. And since then, I think that Dan Crenshaw has done a great job of doing this. I've seen so many amazing clips of Dan Crenshaw, as well as Lindsey Graham now, where you're sort of seeing more conservatives come out and be a little bit tougher and be a little bit more outspoken and take advantage of their social media so that they can actually get the message out that they need to get out. And I would encourage every conservative that is running for office to definitely take advantage of social media. Don't think that it can't make a difference, because it really can. Because Andrew Gillum is a terrible candidate and ran a terrible campaign, and it should not have even been close. So yeah, I think that social media is huge. So also, if you're a candidate, please reach out to me. I can help you. I can help you build a team. I can coach you. I can, I was thinking about starting a little like company of some kind, just because I feel like conservatives need so much help doing this. This isn't something that I'm doing formally, but ahead of 2020, it's something that I think I want to do because I do have a skill set in this. And I think it's something that conservatives need to embrace, or else they're going to get left behind.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that since you're the guru with Instagram, can you help me out? I can't Instagram. Maybe I can, and I'm just not confident with it. But like, I want to have a strong presence on all the platforms. I know that everybody has their one platform or 2 platforms that they're strong on. For me, it's YouTube and Facebook. Like, I kill it on Facebook. I kill it on YouTube. Twitter, it's hard for me to get followers, even though I have amazing tweets. I get retweeted a lot. I have blue check marks following me, whatever. But like between Twitter and Instagram, I think I could reach a whole lot more people who don't use Facebook and YouTube. So I'm just over 1,000 subs or 1,000 followers on Instagram, and then like, I don't know, 4,000 on Twitter or whatever. But what all this really boils down to is politics flows downstream from culture, and the left controls culture, and they have for a long time, because they have these pillars of influence that they've used to gaslight everyone and program them. This is literally like mind control. If you think about it, right? Through academia, college, there's no, like, they're trying to shut down free speech. They try to run conservatives off campus. They use these slanderous terms like Nazi, bigot, to tar and feather any conservative that comes to campus. And they repeat the same lie over and over, like about who's the guy from the Daily Wire, Michael Knowles.
Oh, I was going to say Ben Shapiro.
Ben
Yeah,
Shapiro. I mean, Ben
both of them.
Shapiro is the most known one,
Any
but
conservatives, yeah.
yeah, pretty much any conservative. I saw even Flecka's was at a college campus last week, and they were saying all this crazy stuff like, "How long have you been racist?" It's programming. These colleges
Yeah.
are essentially just communist training camps. People come out of college angry, uneducated, mad at the world, blue hair, you know, feminists, all these things that they learned, just straight up propaganda, because the left controls academia. They control media too, as we know. They're biased YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, uh, mainstream media. Everyone, the average person who's not really awake to what's going on, they turn on CNN and they'll turn to ABC News and CBS, and then they'll maybe read a New York Times article, and they're thinking they're getting diversified information. It's literally just the same bullet ricocheting off different walls, because the left controls mass media. They also control entertainment and Hollywood, music. Every musician, athlete, songwriter, actor, everybody, they're all on the left. They're all liberal. And so politics tends to flow downstream from that. So that's why you get an Andrew Gillum with all this money flowing in, all these donations. These celebrities will come out and pound the pavement. Do you remember for Stacey Abrams' race in Georgia? They had the cast of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like Danny DeVito knocking on doors saying, "Hey, vote Democrat." LeBron James put on a Beto O'Rourke hat. You know, Diddy put on a concert for Andrew Gillum. They have all of the tools necessary to just control everybody. So that's where I think the fight is right now. It's in the trenches. It's culture. And so when we have all these videos, like me going to a Trump rally, like that Trump rally we met at, all I did was just live stream high-fiving Trump supporters. Like, hey, look, I'm a black guy at this Trump rally in Florida, this racist bigot state, right? That voted in a black president twice, by the way, but that's another story. I'm here in Florida, high-fiving conservatives, wearing a MAGA hat, having a good time. Does this look like what they're showing you on the news? Which one's true? So I feel like when I do that, that's kind of like a red pill moment. Also wearing a MAGA hat in public.
Yep.
That is potent. It's effective, because what it does is it forces people to really take a second look at everything, and they're like, wait a minute. I didn't think black people supported Trump. I didn't think anybody would wear a Trump hat in public, that kind of thing. It's like, I don't really know how to explain it, but when they have that cognitive dissonance, it kind of red pills them a little bit. And it also will draw out the negativity into the public eye. I mean, fortunately for me, I haven't had to deal with any crazy people with TDS trying to run me out of a restaurant or anything like that. But I have had a few encounters where, people would say something under their breath or give me a dirty look. Yeah, I've even had a few people say like, "Oh, okay, you're going to support Trump. That's kind of dumb," and it would start a conversation in which I could change their mind, or at least get them to understand my point of view. And that's kind of, I think, where we can win in the culture war is, number one, we can't let the left bully us. We cannot. That's why I can encourage everybody that follows me. They're like, "Mike, it's so brave for you to wear the Trump hat, the MAGA hat in public." I'm like, but it shouldn't be. Like, I don't consider it brave, because this is not how society is supposed to be. A functioning society, you shouldn't have people who hate someone so much that they lose all self-control, restraint. They're like, I'll get arrested, I'll go to jail, I'll lose my job because I hate the president. And I'm going to just blow my top and assault someone because I don't like the president. So we got to get back to having dialogue. Whoopi Goldberg, and then I'm going to stop being so long-winded. That's kind of I'm working on it. But Whoopi Goldberg was talking to the Proud Boys yesterday, and I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, hey, guys, it doesn't matter what you think about Whoopi Goldberg or the Proud Boys. This is progress. They're not supposed to talk according to Don Lemon, because he said white men are the problem in America and they're radicalized under Trump and white supremacy. So why are they talking to this black woman? And why are they having a good time? Why are they treating each other like human beings if all the stuff that we're seeing in propaganda plastered everywhere is true? So that's a little red pill moment. So that's just kind of what I think.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So she like had them on the show, or made a
No,
video with them?
this
Or
was, so I don't know where this was. I guess they were outside of her studio somewhere in New York,
okay,
and it's only like a 6-minute video. There's not much context to it. It's just she's out there talking to them. They're obviously on opposite ends of the political spectrum, and they're just having a conversation. And some of the guys from the Proud Boys were like, "Hey, will you go on air and say that there actually were good people on both sides, and he actually condemned neo-Nazis and white supremacists? Can we crush this narrative right now?" And Whoopi Goldberg she was like, "I can't do this. I'm only one person. This is not the Whoopi Goldberg show." But they were having those kind of back and forth conversations, and it was very cordial. It was very productive. And it was just that little glimmer of hope that we need so we can get back to sanity. Because right now, we're not even talking. We're so far apart on the basic issues like, should America have a border? Is
yeah,
capitalism a good thing? Is America inherently wrong and evil, or is it good and it's had some missteps? We don't even agree on the basic stuff. And we're not having conversations because honestly, it is one-sided. I'm not being biased. One side wants to shut it all down.
yeah. No, the Democrats have completely lost their minds. I mean, there are some Democrat policies and Democrat politicians that I used to agree with, but I think that if you vote Democrat today, you are anti-American. I mean, that's the only way to put it. Or you just don't stand for traditional American values of liberty and freedom and our Constitution. I mean, these people have completely lost their minds. It's like the inmates running the asylum, and I don't know why we've let the far leftist extremists sort of take over that party. Ben Shapiro talks about it periodically, that starting in 2012, they sort of started keeping track of this, that the right, the conservatives, have sort of stayed basically in the same place. And every single year, the left gets progressively more further and further and further to the left. And the problem with this is that anyone that's sort of, thinking openly, thinking rationally for themselves, even if you're a liberal, I think now most liberals fall on the category of the right, because if you believe in things like freedom of speech, which shouldn't even be controversial, you're not a leftist. Freedom of speech should be something we can all agree on. And yet there are so many people that are these far left extremists, which has now basically become more or less mainstream Democrat Party, that don't believe in simple things like freedom of speech. I don't understand why that is so important and why that makes our country so unique and so amazing, and it ensures our freedoms. It's pretty unbelievable. And I just hope that we can wake up more people ahead of 2020, because, the Democrats have basically embraced socialism at this point. They're getting railroaded by radicals within their own party that are sort of pushing everyone to, like you said earlier, with the 20 candidates that are running, on the Democrat ticket, that are all trying to out leftist each other, or they just don't want to come out and say what their position is, and they're chickens, they're cowards, like Kamala Harris. During her CNN town hall last week, she wouldn't really go on the record as saying that she took a stance on anything, but let's just have a talk about that. I think we should have a discussion about that. And it's really lame, because at least Bernie Sanders comes out and says his crazy positions. But yeah, a lot of these Democrats have just completely gone insane. And one other thing you said that I found really interesting is, yeah, basically the left has dominated culture, right? They've taken over everything from academia to the media to Hollywood, music, everything. And that is a massive problem, because conservatives have let it happen for 50 years. We've completely lost the culture war. And the only thing that we have going for us, and one of the main reasons I think Trump got elected, is that we have social media and we have the internet. And, we had the great meme wars, and we had, people making these amazing memes of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And the thing that's so great about a meme is, like, you can say so much and communicate so much truth in just like a little funny thing. And, the left can't
And the
meme.
left
They don't
can't meme.
Yeah, they can't meme. They can't meme at all. And it's amazing, because I look at leftist meme accounts and they're so bad. It's like embarrassing. It's pretty entertaining for me, but they're just filled with hate. It's horrible. So this party
Right.
that says that they're all about tolerance and love and whatever, they're the most hateful people you've ever seen. And yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, conservatives have to get on board with protecting our First Amendment and making sure that we stay, we don't get deplatformed, the way that a lot of these companies want to take conservatives off, and people, we all have sort of a different opinion about that, how much the government intervene in protecting free speech on platforms like Twitter. But I think a case could be made that, if it's going to be a public forum for discourse and basically it's a new town square, that we all should be able to go there and have our voices heard. So it's really scary what's happening, when people get deplatformed, when they get censored. There's actually a free speech rally happening in San Francisco this Friday, May 3rd. So look into that if you guys are in the Bay Area and you want to check it out. They've got some great speakers coming in from different places. I will be there. I'm going to be making a video. So I hear Antifa is going to be joining us. So I will be there sort of trying to speak with them.
Oh, boy.
Because I think, I haven't been deplatformed, knock on wood. Knock on wood. So, I wanted to just be there to support people. But it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's a perfect segue into your video. So I'm actually gonna try to do a screen share so we can watch your video and then talk about it. Let me see if this will work. I think it'll work. Okay. I'm gonna go to the second screen. Okay. Can you see that? Can you see my screen? My second screen?
Can I see your screen?
Yeah, do you see like the chat?
See the chat on the side.
Or do you see me still?
I got my phone down here. I see you.
No, I mean, okay. What about you guys in the chat? Can you guys see the chat on the screen or do you see me? Okay, I'm just going to try it anyway. So I'm going to try to pull up your, let's see. Okay. Okay, can you, Instagram.
Full screen chat. Yeah, chat.
See this? You see the chat?
Here. Yeah, we're all chatting about you.
Perfect. Perfect, guys. Keep chatting. Keep chatting. Okay. I think
I've never done
this is so weird. This is so weird, yeah.
Well, we could just plug it too. If you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if people are seeing me right now or hearing me, but
I think they're seeing both of us. But I want to try to play that so people can see it because I feel like it'd be really, really cool. Okay, screen one. Here we go. All right, I think we got it now. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see yourself do you see me on your Instagram page? If you're looking at your computer.
Yes, I see.
Okay, it's perfect. All right, guys, let's check it out. So that was cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about California, where you live. How crazy is it? First of all, do you know that meme where it's like a lady with a beanie and a green jacket and she's like, "No," after Trump won? Please tell me that was from San Francisco. That had to be.
I actually don't know where that meme originated. For me, I always thought that was like East Coast, but I don't know. It seems very San Francisco, but I don't think so. For some reason, I feel like that's either Washington or New York, but I don't know. Can anyone confirm that? Is there anyone in the chat who could let us know? Send me a DM. I'd really like to know. But yeah, no, it is as crazy as you think it is. And every single thing that is in that video is a fact. If you go to my YouTube channel, I post it on YouTube and I've got all the links for every single one of those facts. So yeah, you can check that out. But basically, yeah, California is the 5th largest economy in the world if it were its own sovereign nation. And yet we have the highest poverty rate in the entire United States. We have the highest rate of homelessness. We have the greatest inequality in California. And, you know, we have a crazy governor, Gavin Newsom, who wants to give sanctuary for all. He also wants to give free medical care for illegal immigrants, whereas we have Americans that are sleeping in tents in tent cities and that have horrible drug addictions and that need help. And, you know, meanwhile, we just want to bring in everybody. But we have a massive housing crisis here. I believe 6 of the 7 most expensive cities or areas to live in the United States are in California. That was a statistic from a video that I did last year on illegal immigration. You can check that one out. I did that with Fleckus. But yeah, we have a massive crisis here, and yet our government doesn't want to take care of Americans. They want to take care of everybody else. And they want to blame Trump for it too, which is hilarious because last time I checked, California has now it's called a supermajority of Democrats in office. And we haven't really had strong Republican leadership here in over, I think, 55, 60 years. So it's a huge mess. And the problems only seem to get worse. And something that really drives me crazy is that people leave the state constantly. Overall, we have about 6 million people leaving California a year because of the high taxes and basically these socialist policies that have led to things like us having the highest income tax, the highest sales tax, the highest gas tax, the highest vehicle tax in the nation, as well as like insane registration fees that come along with your car and everything else. So you're getting taxed to death in California. It is so impossible to grow your wealth in this state. And so people leave and they go to other states and then they vote Democrat and they talk about, oh, we're going to flip Texas blue. And I'm like, are you guys insane? Please don't do that. That's like, I really would love to move to Texas one day and you guys are going to ruin it. So we've got people out there that just aren't thinking through these things, that have been completely lied to and told that the Democrats are the party of the people and that, you know, if you care about people, you're going to vote Democrat. But the reality is that Democrats don't care about people. They don't care about Americans. They care about power. They care about staying elected. They want to disrupt the state. They aren't running things well at all. It's like complete incompetency in Sacramento. And yet these people still keep getting elected year after year. And I think the Republicans have just stopped putting money into the state. They've realized that it's a lost cause. We really don't get support from the national level GOP. I mean, we get a little bit, but I think most people are sort of like, California's done. I mean, the state is literally headed towards collapse. There are massive tent cities. In fact, one of the videos one of the clips that you see in that video, I took myself, and it's the video. I'm actually going to probably just release the whole thing because it's so insane. People can't really believe that it's in California. But you see, I'm driving under a highway, and there's trash piles that are about 20 feet tall and about 15 feet deep. And there are people living in tents. And there are mattresses on the sidewalk. And there are people going through piles of clothing and garbage and in search of food and doing drugs on the side of the street. And it's so horrible. And people can't believe that that is right down the street from where I am right now. I'm doing this podcast from Oakland today. And people can't believe that that is in the wealthiest city, one of the wealthiest cities in the world. You know, not Oakland, but, you know, San Francisco Bay Area. And this is so horrible that we have Americans that are living like this and that, you know, can't get either help or resources to get on their feet, or that, you know, and that meanwhile, we've got an open border policy. And, you know, studies have shown that the effects of illegal immigration, the negative effects are most strongly felt in the inner city. And so when I drive through Oakland and I see Americans, that are suffering like this, it literally breaks my heart. And I have so much beef with our leadership here, that doesn't want to cooperate, and they want to partake in these sanctuary cities. And I get the idea behind it, but that's not really what's going on, right? These people just want to protect illegal immigrants under any cost. They don't want to, they don't want to have to admit that Trump was right about some stuff and that there are some bad people coming in. We have massive amount of gangs all throughout California, mostly Central California. And predominantly these gangs are coming from Central America. They fight amongst each other, and they're really violent. They get in all kinds of driving accidents. They drive while intoxicated. I know firsthand of a family member who, caught on camera. They had like a camera outside their house. This guy speeding through like at 90 miles an hour down their street and getting into an accident. And one guy gets thrown from the car. Come to find out this is a gang guy. One, two people in the car. One guy dies. The police come out, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, the next day, there's 100 gang members outside, and these guys are just hanging out, drinking on the street for their buddies, pouring out, having their beers and pouring out libations, celebrating their life. And I'm thinking, one guy was arrested, one guy died, and these guys are out here celebrating. These aren't great people. These are people that, celebrate recklessness and death and destruction. And it's frightening, and it's scary what is happening for my state. It's scary that we have leaders like Nancy Pelosi that are choosing MS-13 and violent gang members over the lives that are lost, like regular Americans. It's just, this state has gone completely backwards. And I see it myself firsthand every single day. I see needles on the street. I see human feces on the street. I see, people going to the bathroom between parked cars, wiping their bums with toilet paper and then leaving it on the street. Democrats don't realize that when they pass a stupid law, that every single thing that they do has a ripple effect, right? So, for example, when California passed the plastic bag law, like that we're not going to have plastic bags for your groceries anymore, my mother, who grew up in San Francisco, the first thing she said was, well, where are the homeless people going to poop? And I said, Mom, that's crazy. What are you talking about? Like, where do homeless people poop? I guess it never occurred to me. But yeah, immediately after that, we saw a massive, I never saw poop on the street in San Francisco as a kid, ever. And now it's everywhere. And people don't realize, it's because people used to poop in plastic bags. And it's crazy because it seems so like horrible and inhumane and something we can't imagine. But now we have people pooping on the streets. So, and now San Francisco's banned plastic straws because of, one viral video where a straw goes up the nostril of a tortoise, and it's a really horrible, sad video. I've watched it, but the thing is we give out 330. So yeah, 330,000. So 330,000. So over 300,000 plastic syringes a month. And that's just in San Francisco. Now, these syringes are intended to be returned. Only about half of them get returned. So half of them end up on our streets. They end up in our parks. They end up in our sandboxes of where our children play. They end up on our beaches. And meanwhile, we're banning plastic bags and plastic straws. Yeah. I'm baffled. I'm baffled. And this is all at the taxpayer expense. So then the city realized, oh my gosh, we have so much poop and so many syringes on the street. We now have to spend, I think the budget's something like 30 million to clean up these items, right? It's so unbelievably stupid. It blows my mind. And while I can understand, okay, great, we've reduced the number of people getting hepatitis or HIV or whatever from sharing needles. Look, needles aren't that expensive. If you can afford heroin, it costs it costs $2 for a 10-pack of syringes over the counter at Rite Aid or Walmart. $2. So I don't really understand why we, the taxpayer, are subsidizing addiction in our city, and then we're subsidizing to have to clean up after these people. Now, keep in mind as well, I'm going to tell you a few other facts. So San Francisco has 7,500 homeless individuals. So that's 7,500 homeless people And those are different kinds of homeless people, right? So they just have that all lumped together. But some of these are, street kids that are 18 to 22 that just are, think it's cool to live on the street and bum around on Haight-Ashbury. Some of these people are mentally ill, and after our state couldn't afford to keep institutions open because of our generous welfare state and other programs where we give money to other people, maybe that shouldn't deserve it or don't deserve to be here. So a lot of people that have mental illnesses have been released to this, onto the streets. People that have horrible drug addictions that are just either need help or can't receive help. Or maybe that just haven't been helped, right? Maybe people that want to get help but just don't know where to turn. So we've got people with addiction, people that want to be there, some people that live in their cars, but basically total, all these different situations is about 7,500 individuals. That's what they think. That's what they say. Now the budget, I believe this was a 2016 or 2017 number, but the budget that San Francisco, a city of 800,000 people, that's a very small city, right? It's a tiny city, tiny, very wealthy city. So the amount of money we spend on those 7,500 people per year was $300 million. So for $300 million, you could basically buy those people a house, right? Like that's, I think, $56,000 a person. But they increased that. They said, we're not doing enough. The $300 million is not enough for the homeless in San Francisco. So they passed a new law where they're going to tax any business that I think grosses over 50 million, which is a lot of businesses in San Francisco because we have a lot of big tech companies. So they added an additional tax to these businesses. And that tax is now going to generate an additional 300 million. So the new budget for homeless in San Francisco is 600 million. Although I was speaking to a firefighter a couple days ago and he said, Maggie, you've got that wrong. It's actually 800 million. So whether it's 600 million or 800 million, I'd have to look into. But basically, we are spending over $100,000 a year per person, per homeless person in San Francisco per year on these homeless outreach organization programs, many of which have zero accountability. So we don't know whether they work. We don't know if they're good, if they're bad, whatever. But here's the thing, is that big government can't solve these problems. The thing is big government, these are businesses. So these businesses aren't motivated to actually solve the problem, right? They're motivated to increase the problem so that they can increase their staff, increase their salaries. If you have a business or, they're called HOOs, Homeless Outreach Organizations. And if these HOOs each are dependent upon a homeless population for them to stay open, then they don't, and they keep receiving this money from the government, they don't want to solve the problem. They want to bring in more homeless people.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's now become an industry. So, when people talk about the homeless industrial complex, it's a real thing. I wanted to make a documentary about this, and the problem is just, I don't think that there's a great enough interest, but from what I see, it's horrible. And it's corrupt, and that is why I made that video that you just shared with people. I believe that, I haven't lived in many other states, but from what I can see, just based on the money and how terrible our programs are, I think that this is perhaps the most corrupt state in the nation.
I got to tell you, that scares the hell out of me because California is the petri dish for all these little socialist experiments. I mean, California sounds literally like Venezuela. I mean, you have a very wealthy ruling class, and they want to keep it that way. And then you have people living in extreme poverty. And there is an industrial complex as it relates to homelessness and drug use, because people who are homeless, they need to stay homeless in order for these politicians to get reelected. Because if people, God forbid, get up off their feet, start working, the first thing they're going to want is low taxes. They're going to want more freedom, more independence. And that means they're probably going to start looking at conservative candidates. So the Democrats and the left, I don't really even like to call them Democrats anymore because they've devolved. They're pretty much communists of America. They don't care about this country at all whatsoever. I think that they want it exactly like this. So they've built it up, and the answer is always, always, always more government. Even though government's the problem, they come in and pretend they're the solution. Dinesh D'Souza has like the best quote about it. He just says, like, they poison the well and then show up and pretend to be the water commissioner. And it's like the most nonsensical thing ever, that someone could grow up in California, not see how it's changed. And then if they do see that it changed, they don't know why. All they know is that it changed. They're like, well, the taxes are high here, so I'm going to flee to Colorado, which is where I'm from. All the Californians moved out there, and now Colorado is the blue state, and now Denver's a sanctuary city because they voted for what they fled. Same thing with illegals coming across the border. They're going to vote for what they fled,
Yep.
which is why the left wants open borders, because everyone crossing the border is a future Democrat voter. That's all but a fact. So the fact that Americans like you and me and everybody in the chat and people who just want to protect the nation that we've worked so hard to build, the fact that we're standing strong and we elected Trump, that's why they're like, we got to get more people in here. We need to replace these Americans. We need to have them scrambling, fighting for resources at the bottom while we're up here on our ivory towers. I don't think for one second that they have good hearts and they're trying to, I mean, some are, but people like Nancy Pelosi, people that are like mainstream, the faces of the Democrat Party, they don't care about Americans. They're in it for themselves. It always gets corrupt. You know, when you get these bloated, heavy-handed governments, they tilt towards tyranny every single time. The politicians, and it's not even just the politicians, it's the big businesses. This is big corporate businesses invested. You know, look at Jeff Bezos and Amazon moving his headquarters just outside of DC, and then he wanted to move his second one just outside somewhere in New York. You know, the political capital and the economic capital of the U.S. Two states, two areas of the country that did not need jobs, did not need. Why would he put Amazon second headquarters in the middle of the country? It's because they don't care about the people in the middle of the country, the everyday working class Americans, which is why California, they're crushing the middle class with all these policies. They're raising taxes. Well, what's going to happen when you raise taxes? You expect all this money to come in, but people are fleeing the state. Well, who's going to pay the taxes?
Yeah.
You have nobody to tax. You have to think eventually California is going to just go belly up. It's a matter of time, which is why I think this is where I get more libertarian. I guess, I don't know, libertarian. I've kind of backed off saying I'm full libertarian because I don't agree that we just abolish the whole federal government. I mean, I think we should shrink it down. But basically what I'm getting at is California doesn't need any federal funding whatsoever, because federal funding means the other states are funding their bad policies, and there's no oversight and accountability at the federal level. It's literally just bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., unelected. We don't know what they're doing, but all they're doing is dictating and controlling too much, which is exactly why California is where it is, Venezuela is where it is. And this is the model that they want for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So for Bernie Sanders or AOC or Elizabeth Warren, all these people that are talking about these crazy radical policies, the fact that they have people behind it, older people behind it, is scary. Is really scary. We don't know what's going to happen in 2020. It's all we really know is we just have to keep amplifying our message, because what we're doing is effective. They're running scared. They're trying to posture and pretend like, yeah, we got this. But in reality, the mainstream media, their ratings are tanking. People are flocking, like leaving the Democrat Party. People are finding YouTube channels like mine, like Anthony Brian Logan. People are going to the internet to find out what's going on. And it just kind of reminds me of when Trump won in 2016. I had no idea what was going on. I just saw the meltdown and the collapse around me. And as I dug into it, I eventually found my voice to speak out. Now here I am with a platform, hoping to bring others out. I think if we can get enough of that between now and 2020, we should be in good shape. But in the meantime, there's no wall. Illegals are flooding in. There's going to be election fraud. We know that. Just like there was election fraud in 2018, there's no way the Dems won the House legitimately. Yeah. There's no way it happened. So for 2020, we just have to continue following down that path, supporting Trump, rocking our MAGA gear, not worrying about the left and their intimidation tactics, exposing their double standards. My God, like they claim to care about the working class, but they crush them with all of these policies. California, I can't believe it. Tell me about this, because I've seen all the, documentaries that have been made by like Coleon Noir. He has a great documentary. I don't know if you know who he is. He's worked with NRA. He's been out to San Francisco and he talked about that like needle epidemic. I believe it was either him or someone else that showed a video of someone like smoking meth on public transportation.
I posted that
That was
like 2
you.
days
Okay.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like no rule of law. And now they have like, what is this, fecal map? Is that real? It's just nonsensical to me. I can't imagine what it's like to live in California. Because in Florida, I mean, we don't really have that. It seems like California is another country. But that is the model that they want. And it's crazy too that California is the largest state, the most electoral votes, the most people. It almost feels like they have the most influence.
Yeah. And we do have the most influence. And, 11% of our population here in California is made up of illegal immigrants. And when they count that in the census, when just the number of people is counted, that's giving California more electoral votes. That's why Trump wanted to put that on the next census is, are you a legal citizen? Are you a legal, American citizen? And the left is opposing that question. So you have to wonder, why are they opposing that? Because they don't want California and big states like this to have more electoral votes. So yeah, you just said so many things that I was like, oh my gosh, I got to jump in and chime in on that. But I mean, we could talk forever about all this stuff, but it's just the point you come back to time and time and again, and I can't reiterate enough, is how important it is for people to speak up. One of the reasons I wear my hat is because, I want to show people like, hey, look, it's okay. You can wear it, and also too, it's like, I think a lot of people have these misconceptions that, only people in the middle of the country or all like only, truck drivers wear those hats or something. And it's like, no, actually you can dress this up. This can be cool. This can be a statement. To me, I wear it and I try to think like, look, to me, this is Kanye. This is culture. This is thinking for yourself. This is cool. This is different, If you want to be just like everyone else, put on your black mask and go hang out with Antifa. But if you actually want to stand up for something, you put that hat on and you rock it. And you see what people say to you, It's so funny to me because it's funny people want to say, oh, this is some kind of racist statement. It's not. If anything, it's like you said, it reveals other people's hatred and hypocrisy. And I think it's really interesting to sort of see and expose that. That's why I go to a lot of these protests. And most of the time I'll go just sort of dress neutrally. And I just talk to people. And usually I just sort of ask them a couple questions. I don't even, I don't even insert my own opinion that often. Sometimes I'll sort of correct course or sort of point out like hypocrisy. But a lot of times these people come out and they just say so many hateful things. And it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap up, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. You guys get out there, subscribe to Fog City Midge on YouTube, find her on Instagram, which is where I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's where your like biggest following is. You're also on Facebook too. I put links in the description of this video. The last point I want to make real quick is coalition building. I kind of get jealous from time to time when I see all these videos. You got everybody. It seems like California has more conservatives than liberals when you think about it, because maybe it's just because I'm in an echo chamber. So I'm seeing like Will Witt from PragerU. I'm seeing you out there. I'm seeing Nuance Bro. Everybody that's out in California walking the streets. And it seems like you guys have a nice, tight-knit little coalition. I want that same thing here in Florida. It does kind of feel like there are some YouTubers out here, but I know that like DC Drano's out here, Tim Pool is here. I think Slightly Sophisticated said he's in Florida. I want to connect with other conservatives down here so we can kind of build energy and momentum going into 2020.
I feel like you guys are down there. I want to be in Florida. I loved Florida. When I spent time there, I just fell in love. I mean, I love that state. It's so much fun. We had, when I first met DC, It was through, there was like a MAGA meetup, and a guy named Brokeback Patriot, who you should all of you guys out there, just all y'all go follow him. He's on Instagram. And so I connected with him because he's also a filmmaker like myself. He actually makes like really amazing narrative and comedy, and I love his style. So he and I connected because it's like, wow, you know, we both are from Hollywood. You know, we spent 10 years in Hollywood, and both of us are filmmakers, and both of us are conservative and have faced a lot of backlashes coming out as conservative. And on top of it, he's also gay, so he faced a lot of backlash, you know, because of that from his own community. And so, you know, instantly I was like, this guy's like, I love this guy so much. So he's out there, DC's out there. You know, I think there's a lot of Instagrammers out there. I mean, you guys have Mar-a-Lago. You've got like, I mean, you've got so much down in Florida. There's so many opportunities to be out there and making content. I also think Latinos for Trump is there too. They're two brothers, and they're amazing as well. And they actually work for a media company, and they cover a lot of local events. But yeah, I went to an event called SAS, which is the Student Action Summit for Turning Point USA. I believe it's every December, but this year it was December, end of December, and it was in what's it called? West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so they have an amazing event, and I highly recommend that. Definitely, if you're a student, you have to go. And I actually thought it was more fun than CPAC because there's so many, just everyone's there, and there's so much energy, and people, these young people are there, and they're there to make a difference and to connect. And all the big influencers were there, you know. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun because
yeah.
I went to the Young Black Leadership Summit in DC.
Oh my gosh, amazing. I'm so jealous. You got to go to the White House?
Oh yeah, it was great. And
oh
the walk away movement happened there too, the walk away march. So I got to meet all of these, everybody was out there. And at the time I only had like maybe like 8,000 subs. I'd still feel like a small channel, but whatever. I met all these, like I met Anthony Brian Logan, Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens. I met Candace Owens within like 10 minutes of being there. You know, amazing. Donald Trump Jr. It was incredible. And the energy was just so electric and positive. And so, yeah, I know I need to get out around Florida and do some man on the street stuff. I need to just honestly do what you guys do, or at least Flecka's. He goes on campus and just talks to people wearing his American gear. I should probably just do that and just record it and post it online. It could be something as simple as that, because someone will find that video and watch it and be like, damn, that's how the left thinks. That's so backwards and wrong and racist. And then if anyone comes up and tries to, you know, shame me, well, then, hey, I'm exposing you for your bigotry. That's honestly one of the most rewarding parts, is the people shouting the loudest, calling everyone racist and bigot and homophobe and all this. They are literally the most hateful people that I've met, that I've encountered since being a Trump supporter. And they're always resisting. They're always focusing on what they don't want. I'm like, what does it mean to resist? What does that look like in practice? How are you going to resist hate? With hate of your own? Because that's what I'm thinking you're going to do. They're always like, this is what we don't want. It's like, why don't you focus on what you do want? Yeah. They don't care about putting in the right candidate. They just care about beating Trump. They're like, Biden has the best chance to beat Trump. Why not Biden would be the best president? Why is that not your mindset? They haven't pivoted, which is how I know they're on the wrong side of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Biden even has that on his website, which is such a joke. I'm like, that's your number one thing? Like, you're going to be the guy to beat Trump? That's the worst campaign promise I've ever heard.
Right.
And yeah, it's, I have to just like say one last thing. Like, when we were at that Trump rally, it's so funny because the way that they're portrayed in the media is like this, oh, it's this crazy event and all these like, you know, white supremacists or racists or whatever. It's literally such an amazing, diverse crowd of just so many amazing patriots, and everyone's there, and there's no differences. We're all just there unified. I've never been in a place that I thought was like more positive, and the energy was so amazing. Like, I literally was so moved, and so many people just there celebrating and so excited. And that's what's so incredible, is that when you're unified by patriotism, there's nothing that can really divide us, right? Because we all support the same culture. We all are standing here together, You know, we believe in our Constitution, we believe in our liberties and our freedoms, and we appreciate them and the opportunity that we get from being Americans. You know, that's the only great privilege that you have, is being born an American. And when people come out and they hate that, you know, like the left has shown themselves to be, you know, that's basically like, I don't understand how people can be like that and take what we have for granted and how amazing this country is. So yeah, I think it does expose people a lot. You know, I've heard so many crazy things. I've had people say so many racist things to me at the Women's March. I've had so many people say sexist things to me from other women, you know, for supporting Trump. So it's unbelievable. And I think the more that we can just sort of expose their hate for what it is, I think more people are going to start to wake up and say like, well, wow, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Don't hang up yet, because I want to chat offline, and maybe you can put me in contact with some of these, like DC Drano and some other connections you have down here. But thank you so much for coming on, guys. Again, subscribe, follow Fog City Midge on all the social media platforms. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe
I
to
think,
this channel.
yeah, I almost hit 10,000 on my YouTube. So if people subscribe, that'd be really cool.
Nice.
And find me on Instagram too. That's like where I do most of my stuff, and Twitter.
Yeah,
Facebook.
you kill it on Instagram. You definitely
Thanks.
kill it on Instagram. And yeah, guys, thanks to everybody that super chat. Sorry, we were in a dialogue. We had a flow, so I couldn't get to the super chats, but I did see them. So thank you to everybody that sent a super chat. Shout out to all the moderators holding it down. They've been sharing links in there. Joey, DM, Dina Marie, Tony, everybody. Thank you guys. Love you guys. God bless. And we'll catch you in the next live stream. Peace.